Okay, awesome job, John. Really nice work. Cool car too. I remember that car when I was a little kid. Um, I do. I remember it driving around the neighborhood, and I was a little kid. That's just a couple years before I was born. So that's a cool car. I remember it was red, and there was a blue one too in the neighborhood too. Very cool stuff. Okay, bring back memories. Thanks. Okay, awesome. This is great. Design one using your statistical data. You've kept your point size the same, which is great. So the hierarchy you established was accomplished by grouping information and changes in space, and that's just great. I mean, and the logical thing is this: is that, and I've been saying this, doesn't matter what the text says. We know that this stands alone. We know that these are part of this, and we know that these are separate from each other but related to each other within each subgroup. So that's good. That gives us a lot of information. Like I said, it doesn't matter what this says. You've given us information by creating hierarchy. That's good. Now over here, I think this is different though. This is weird. I don't. You got this pushed all over. Like this would be considered a no print zone. So that's really odd. Um, I'm not real sure why you would. Why don't you just create a two column? Keep your grid. Create a two column uh, headline. Okay, but then you've done this 0 to 60, 3-speed manual, two-door hardtop. But it seem like zero? I don't. This is tough because why are these bold? Just these two? Are they more important? I don't understand. I mean, this is. It seems like you've got the same separation. You've created some scale difference, creating more. Oh, I see what you've done. You aligned the P to the grid. Okay, I see what you did. Okay, but I still think that 1964 might go up there because it's too close. You're in no print zone. Anyway, so I was saying this bold here, why is this more important and why is this OHV 90 more important than, let's say, 428 pounds of torque? Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not real sure about that right there. This one, I think, is a really interesting layout. Now, presumably these, I mean, unless these have to do with this, and I'm not a gearhead, I'm not a car head guy, so I don't know. Are these associated with this? If so, fantastic job. I love this layout. I think it's the most successful of all of your this typographic little composition up here is just smashing. I love it. Whoops. I keep thinking I'm in Illustrator, I mean in Acrobat, and that I can frame things out and point to them, but I can't. This is great. I think right now this is too close to this typographic composition. Take this whole text block here, pull it down, then the distance between this, presumably these are part of this. So that distance is too great. Let's bring those closer. Okay, and then take that whole text box, move it down. That's a gorgeous composition right here. This one's okay. I mean, it's okay for, it looks like you just haven't even paid attention to the grid at all, which is kind of the idea here. And you can, I mean, I guess you can kind of get away with it with an image. I don't think you can. I mean, personally, I don't touch a design job without a grid. Never did, never will. Unless, of course, it's more of an artistic piece, you know. But for the actual visual communication, the actual graphic design work that my studio does, no, we use grid because it all has a lot to do with verbal communication as well. So I'm sorry, written communication. So the information that typically that we put out is something that needs to be read. It's informative. It's not more of a visual piece. A visual piece, I think you have a lot more liberties. But anyway, so that's my whole thing is that. Yeah, and then these distances here are really really too far apart because right now you're risking that these aren't even related at all. Okay, here we can see that by the proximity, these are related to each other, and the group, the two subgroups, are related to the headline. That's obvious. Here, I think that's just too far apart. I mean, you've given us this wonderful information to start with saying that this is different than this, which is different than this, which is different than this, but these are related, these are related. But in essence, all of these are related too. So watch your space between, okay? Like this is great because you can tell if you close that space down and that space down, then all of these things will be related yet presented differently, establishing hierarchy. Love that layout. All right, let me see. Yeah, this actually even makes sense because it's following it. It is following that diagonal, kind of. It's kind of following that diagonal the way that this is. But I would try to even though you're breaking that grid, I would try to set this type a little bit more though. You're not going to put it on a diagonal, but the way that like that relationship to that relationship there, the 0 to 60 to the OHV, that could be set such that if the 0 to 60 were over here, that whole line right there would mimic the angle of the photo, and I think that would be really cool. So again, just try to mimic that angle of the photo. 19, it's set at that really super featherweight stroke. I think it's a mistake. I would stick with 1964. Keep it GTO. Watch your kerning. 64, that's good. That O looks like it get tucked in a little bit. That G is definitely too far from the T as well. Pontiac Tempest is kerned too closely, and it's too small in relationship to this. I would reduce the size of the 64, move it over, so you can increase the relationship of Pontiac Tempest to the 1964 GTO. Hope that makes sense. Right now, that is really cramped. Almost, look, I'm going to back, well, actually, I can't. I keep thinking I'm in Acrobat. What I was going to do is zoom out a little bit. And you can do this, too, by just sliding away from your monitor and your screen. Just slide away about 4 or 5 feet, and you'll see that. I'll do it right now. I'm going to slide away here. Right now, about 4 feet from my computer right now, and I can't read this. So that's food for thought. All right. Okay. Well, let me roll back. Okay, I'm back. All right. So cool. That's what I have. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I think you should get with me. All right. Good job. Thanks, man.